Senators will be in their seats. Clerk will call the roll.
Alley. Argabright. Billinger. Blasey. Blue. Bowers. Bowser. Clays from Saline. Clays from Sedgwick. Clifford. Corson. Dietrich. Erickson. Fagg. Fascudo. Francisco. Gossage. Haley. Holscher. Klemp. Cluse. Masterson. Murphy. Owens. Peck. Peterson. Petty. Rose. Reichman. Schmidt. Schallenberger. Shane. Starnes. Sykes. Thomas. Thompson. Titus. Tyson. Ware. Warren.
Senators and guests, please rise and give prayerful attention to our guest chaplain, Doug Hinkle.
Let us pray. Father God, this building is filled today with people concerned about issues regarding the young folks of our state. But none care more about them than you. Jesus, you said in your word, let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. Thank you so much for all the young folks in our state. We pray you would show us in this chamber all you have us to do to protect and encourage them, that they would grow to be the men and women you created them to be. I pray you would keep them healthy, cause them to thrive. I thank you that you know every hair on their head. You know exactly when they rise and when they fall. Watch over the young folks of our state in every area of their lives and keep them safe. Lord, remind teachers that you listen and are there no matter the time, place, or situation. Remind them that you shoulder the weight of their burdens. Cause them to turn to you with thanksgiving. Cause them to love and care for their students, especially when classroom management is challenging. Through difficult times, give them patience and peace. Cause them to see what they couldn't see before. Give them the grace to see that they don't have to manage everything on their own. Fill them with your calming presence so that they may seek you out in prayer. Father, remind them that you work all things together for the good of those who love you and are called according to your purpose. I pray for President Masterson, Vice President Schallenberger, Majority Leader Blasey, and Minority Leader Sykes. Bless them as they lead this chamber. And Lord, give each senator here your wisdom, your insight, and your direction. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please remain standing for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On a point of personal privilege, Chair recognizes the Senator from Johnson, Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a group of folks I want to acknowledge in the gallery today. So a little story, a little background information. Established in 2017, Public Safety Academy at Olathe West High School has been a shining example of how public education can equip students with the skills and values needed to strengthen their communities. This innovative program combines hands-on training with academic rigor, offering students the opportunity to earn college credits through Johnson County Community College. Currently, 108 students are enrolled in the Olathe West Public Safety Academy, united by a shared goal of becoming first responders who have saved their communities with courage and dedication. The impact of the Public Safety Academy is already evident. Since its launch, 15 Olathe West alumni have become or joined the ranks of first responders in Johnson County, working as certified firefighters, law enforcement officers, paramedics, EMTs, and even a crime scene investigator. How cool is that? These graduates are a testament to the Academy's success, serving as protectors of the life and property in our communities. I want to recognize the Olathe West Public Safety Academy today, and I would ask that they rise and be recognized by the Senate Chamber as we thank them for their commitment to safety around the state of Kansas and in Johnson County.
Welcome to the Kansas Senate. Second point of personal privilege, Chair recognizes Senator from Johnson, Senator Holscher.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have some very special guests with us today in the Senate chamber. Some of you may recognize some of these individuals because my first session in the House, we worked on the wrongful compensation bill, a bill for those who were wrongly convicted to provide compensation upon their release. So earlier today, Lamont McIntyre was here. He had to go leave for another obligation, but Lamont served 23 years in our prison system for crimes he did not commit, was exonerated, and then again was part of the wrongful compensation team that helped work on that bill a few years ago. He co-founded Miracle of Innocence, an organization that helps those who have been released, which happens to be in Senate District 8. So you may have talked to him earlier today as he was in the building. We have some additional guests with us, very important today. Joe Amrine. Joe is an exoneree from Missouri who spent over 16 years on death row, again, for a crime that he did not commit. Joe, why don't you give us a wave? Next, we have Mark Zimmerman. Mark is the executive director of Miracle Innocence. Again, that's the organization that Lamont McIntyre helped co-found along with Daryl Burton out of Missouri. Next, we have Tricia Rojo Bushnell, the executive director of Midwest Innocence Project, who was a big part of working on the wrongful compensation bill. Next to her, we have Quinn Coons and then Ben Coons. These are sons of Kansas exoneree Pete Coons, who spent over 12 years in prison, again, for a wrongful conviction. Sadly, he passed away about 6 months after being exonerated. So we are honored to have you here today. Thank you for the work you've all done. And again, welcome to the Senate Chamber of the State Capitol. And if everybody would stand and give them a warm welcome, please. You guys can stand up.
Welcome to the Kansas Senate. All right, we have a few pages here today. Are there introductions? Senator from Johnson, Senator Schmidt, or Senator Shawnee, Senator Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to recognize my 2 pages from today, Sophia Ward and Daisea Lynch. Sophia is a junior at Topeka High. Please stand up. Sophia is a junior at Topeka High and also is in the Law and Public Safety program at TCALC, which I had the privilege of visiting a few months ago. She plays softball, works at Sephora 12 hours a week, and is looking forward to going to either KU or Washburn for both undergraduate and law school. Thank you very much. And we also have Daisea Lynch, also a junior at Topeka West, and also enrolled in the Law and Public Safety program at TCALC. She is working 12 to 15 hours a week at Iron Rail, so tip your waiter, and also enjoys softball, is also looking at KU and Washburn, also wants to be a lawyer, and would like to talk to somebody about her property taxes on her 2015 Kia Forte, which are too high. Thank you, Mr. President.
Might have to talk about tax on tips. Senator from Johnson, Senator Sykes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 3 pages, and 2 of them apparently are running errands for someone in here. But Brinley Porter, if you will stand up. Brinley Porter is a freshman at Shawnee Mission West, and then she is joined by Claire Ashlock and Elise Ashlock. Elise is 7th grade at Westridge Middle School, and Claire is also a freshman. But these young ladies have been a part of my life since they were babies, and it's an honor to have them in the chamber with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, girls, for your service. All right. Please note references to bills on page 1 and 2 of the calendar. Messages from the governor. Clerk will read.
Message to the Senate of the State of Kansas. Enclosed herewith is Executive Directive number 25-593 for your information. Sincerely, Laura Kelly, the Governor.
Chair recognizes the Majority Leader from Sedgwick, Senator Blasey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of bills on the calendar of the heading of General Orders.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. The chair appoints the senator from Sherman, Senator Billinger, to preside over the Committee of the Whole.
Good afternoon. We will now turn the Senate having resolved itself into the Committee of the Whole, we will now consider those items listed on the calendar under the heading of General Orders. We will now turn our attention to Senate Bill 35. The chair recognizes the senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson, to explain the bill and to adopt the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move we adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. Are there any questions to the senator from Lynn? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Sorry. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Senate Bill 35 is language that we have seen before, at least passed out of the tax committee. It would remove the 1.5 mil that the state collects in property tax. As it was stated yesterday, it would take us out of the business of property taxes. The 1 mil is currently for regents, and the half mil is for buildings, state buildings. This money would be made up through an equation and put into the state general fund, or from the state general fund to fund these buildings, so that they wouldn't lose the money, but the property tax would go away. With that, I'd stand for questions.
Are there questions for the senator from Lynn? Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering if the senator from Lynn could just remind us of the fiscal note of this bill.
Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The original fiscal note is a little different from what it passed out of committee. The committee did increase the fiscal note a little bit because it did have a 2% annual increase for both the 1 mil and the 0.5 mil. The committee changed that for the regents to be a 10-year average on currently it's residential property. I will have an amendment on that to make it calculated off all property. But that is the current calculation. It's approximately $81 million in 2017, or 27, 28 is 85 million, and 90 million in 29.
Senator from Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that information.
Senator from Riley, Senator Starnes.
Thank you. I would like to move to amend Senate Bill 35 as amended by the Senate Committee on page 2 in line 36. After the period, by inserting all transfers made in accordance with this provision of this subsection shall be considered to be demand transfers from the state general fund. Also on page 5 in line 16, after the period, by inserting all transfers made in accordance with the provisions of this subsection shall be considered to be demand transfers from the state general fund.
Have you turned in the amendment?
Yes, it's S0842.
Would you like to explain the amendment or would you like it read?
Have it read.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. He just read it, so I don't know if we need to read it again. If he would be willing to stand for questions. And I do consider this a friendly amendment. This is.
Yes.
We'll just take a moment to let everyone get a copy that wants one. Are there any questions for the senator from Riley on the amendment? Seeing none, Senator from Meade, Senator Reichman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you explain what demand transfer means? Thank you.
Senator from Riley, Senator Starnes.
Yes, appreciate it, Mr. Chair. And Senator, just what it says specifically, a demand transfer, that is going to take place.
Any other questions on the amendment? Seeing none, Senator, you may move your amendment.
I move my amendment.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We're back on the bill. Senator from Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Tyson.
May we pass over the bill? I do have another amendment on the way up.
Yes, we can do that. We'll pass over this bill, wait on the amendment that's coming. Next, we will turn our attention to Senate Bill 10. The chair recognizes the senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson, to explain the bill and adopt the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move we adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill was brought to us by the Kansas County Appraisers Association. They had recommended that we remove some items on personal property taxes, that we exempt those items. Their comments were that it often costs more to collect the taxes than what we actually collect on these items. There's several items: all-terrain vehicles, recreational off-highway vehicles, motorcycle manufactured for off-road use, golf carts, and motorized bicycles, electric-assisted bicycles, electric-assisted scooters, electric personal assisted mobility devices, electric wheelchairs, and trailers 15,000 pounds or less, watercraft, and trailers for watercraft. With that, I'd stand for questions, Mr. Chairman.
Are there questions for the senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson? Senator from Finney, Senator Clifford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since I'm new around here, it might be a parliamentarian question, but when these are brought to the chamber, are they not brought as amended in committee? Maybe the senator from Lynn would answer.
Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the original motion that I made was that we adopt the committee report. That is the adoption of the amendments from the committee.
Thank you.
Senator from Finney.
Thank you very much for answering my question.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator from Harvey, Senator Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll go ahead and yield my time to the chairwoman.
Thank you.
Senator from Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an idea what the good senator was going to ask about. The committee did amend the legislation to include aircraft also.
Senator from Harvey.
Yes,
Senator Owens.
Yeah, thank you.
Was that your question?
Mr. Chair, that was my question. I just want to take a minute to speak on behalf of that. You know, South Central Kansas and specifically Wichita is the air capital of the world. And I think this goes a long way in telling people that we support aviation in the state of Kansas, and that, you know, many of the aircraft are already exempt in Kansas. Any aircraft that are in business are already exempt. Aircraft that are 35 years or older are exempt. This just clarifies it all the way through and actually had a relatively small fiscal note. So I'm certainly proud to represent South Central Kansas in adding aircraft to this legislation. Thank you.
Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson, do you have any comment?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did note that the bill has been amended, particularly to add an exemption for aircraft and a definition of aircraft. My question is, has the fiscal note been updated? So do we now know what the impact would be with that change?
Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They do not update the fiscal note that's posted online, as the good senator knows, but we did get that fiscal note before we voted on it in committee. It was less than $250,000.
Senator from Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the note or the bill initially, I understand, had a fiscal note to the state of $205,748. But then there also may need to be additional funds in state aid provided from the state general fund, and that would have been $2,743,309. So is the figure that the senator from Lynn gave just the impact to the state? And do we also have a figure for the impact that it could mean for state aid?
Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that was a total. We're going to be approximately around $3 million. We'll come in, I can definitely say, below $3.2 million.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm concerned because although we haven't finished our action on Senate Bill 35, I think we're going to be trying to help our counties by reducing the property tax we're collecting from those counties by 84 million, 88 million, 90 million. But then we're turning around and the state may have to provide additional funds in state aid. So I appreciate those numbers, but I did have concern that even though we are the air capital of the world, that if someone has an airplane or a helicopter, I would think that we would ask them to pay property taxes just as we do for those who have automobiles. And with that, I have an amendment.
Have you turned it in?
I have.
What is the number?
SB 10S0831.
Do you want to explain or do you want to have it read?
I would like to explain it. It's one of those bills that would be, or amendments that would be hard to understand if you didn't also have a copy of the bill in front of you.
Senator from Douglas. Senator Francisco, would you like to explain it?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, I would. The amendment strikes the new language that was added by the Senate committee. So, and moves the and. So it strikes this applying to any aircraft, and also for the definition of aircraft to mean airplane, helicopter, or other machine capable of flight.
Are there questions on the amendment? Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can't tell you how much we appreciate staff around here, Eddie and Amelia. They keep us going. I was too generous on my fiscal note estimate. The supplemental note actually does include the dollar amount. So the 2.743309 is the actual fiscal note that we have for the committee. So it does not increase by a couple $100,000. I was just being generous in case, so I would cover my bases. Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to support this amendment because the committee did pass it out with aircraft. We found during working the bill that a majority of airplanes are either tagged out of state or they use somewhat of a loophole to tag their airplanes under businesses. And so therefore they're not paying property taxes now. So we would just be giving that benefit across the state to all aircraft.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that information. So with that, do we know of that $2,743,000, how much of that reflects the addition of the aircraft that was made to the committee bill?
Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Approximately $230,000.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that information, and I understand that it may not be a significant amount. I agree with many of the things that are included, certainly not taxing electric-assisted personal mobility devices and motorized wheelchairs, but I do think that this sets an awkward tone for the state to say you do not have to pay property taxes on an individual aircraft if it's not used for business. So that's why I'm still standing behind this amendment.
Are there questions on the amendment? Senator from Harvey, Senator Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to stand in opposition to this amendment. When I carried this amendment in committee, we had a discussion over the cost, which is minimal. And we recognize that when aircraft are housed out of state, registered out of state, their repairs are being made out of state. Their annual inspections are made out of state. Their engine replacements are made out of state. And so to say that we're going to lose $230,000 in revenue, I would argue that this will actually be more than made up with our smaller businesses in our aviation industry here in Kansas. As I mentioned earlier, all aircraft used in business, and those are the really, really expensive aircraft, are already exempt from property taxes in Kansas. Any aircraft that's older than, I believe it is 30 years old, 35 years old, is exempt from property taxes already if you go through the kind of burdensome BOTA process. And so we're not to mention light sport aircraft, home-built aircraft. Many aircraft are already exempt in Kansas. And so I think this is a very small trade-off to show our support for aviation and bring some of those airplanes home and bring those dollars back home as well. Thank you.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate those comments. But I do know that, again, we are looking at what we can do for property taxes to help our counties and cities throughout the state. And so I think Senate Bill 10 is actually taking away from the opportunity and reductions that we're looking to make through Senate Bill 35. So I think I think my concern is we're ending up at a loss, and would stand for any other questions.
Other questions on the amendment? Senator from Shawnee, Senator Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When I saw the agenda last night for today, I assumed it was a joke. In 2024 in Kansas, our voters sent us here for real property tax relief. And the agenda for today is 1.5 mills, which none of my voters are ever going to see because it'll be lost in the appraisal process. And it squeezes the state budget. And tax cuts for millionaires with private jets and yachts. And I want to know when we're going to get to real property tax relief, especially when eggs today at Walmart are $6.50 a dozen. When we have avian influenza that is going to make that problem get a lot worse before it gets better. Well, we have people all across this state being taxed out of their homes. And we're talking about tax cuts for private jets. Is that what is most important? People need help now, and I hope that this body can get to it. Thank you.
Senator from Shawnee, Senator Francisco, did you want to answer that, or do you have anything to say?
Senator Francisco from Douglas, I appreciate those comments and thank the senator from Shawnee.
Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson, would you like to respond?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would. Thank you very much. I got to thank the good senator from Shawnee. I am so excited. We have a constitutional amendment coming up that will do exactly what he said, and it will help with those properties that would be lost in the appraisal process. So I can't wait to debate that. I am looking forward to his support. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any other questions on the amendment? Seeing none, Senator, you may move your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do agree with the senator from Shawnee that it would be good to take an overall look at our property taxes. I do understand there are other things coming forward, but hesitate to adopt this bill or support this bill before some of those other changes have been made. I move to amend Senate Bill 10.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion fails. Seeing 5 hands, roll call's in order. Clerk will read the roll.
Alley. Argabright. Billinger.
Nope.
Lazy. Blue. Bowers. Bowser.
No.
Clays from Saline. Clays from Sedgwick. Clifford. Corson. Dietrich. Erickson. Fag. Faust-Gudot. Francisco. Gossage. Haley. Holscher. Klemp. Cluse. Masterson. Murphy. Owens. Peck. Peterson. Petty. Rose. Reichman. Schmidt. Schallenberger. Shane. Starnes. Sykes. Thomas. Thompson. Titus. Tyson.
Has every senator had an opportunity? Wait a minute. Senator Titus, can you repeat your vote?
Tyson. Ware. Warren.
Has every senator had an opportunity to vote? Does any senator wish to explain their vote? Does any senator wish to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. $11 voting in favor and 25 voting no. The motion fails. Back on the bill. Are there any questions for the senator from Lynn? Senator Tyson? Seeing none, Senator, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the committee rises and report, it reports Senate Bill 10 as amended favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. We'll move our attention back to Senate Bill 35. The chair recognizes a senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson. Senator Tyson, do you have your amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do, and it's been turned in. It is 0860.
Do you wish to explain?
Yes, it's 0860. I have 3 amendments here, sorry, but I'm only offering this one.
Okay. Do you wish to explain it, or would you like it to be read?
I'll explain it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what the Regents brought us a recommended amendment. They asked for an amendment during committee, and we used their language on residential property taxes for a 10-year average for their increase, since they're not going to get a valuation increase each year. So what this amendment would do is strike the language residential, and it would be based off of all property taxes for their 10-year average. With that, I'd stand for questions.
Are there questions on the amendment? Senator from Johnson, Senator Corson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I leave it to the will of the body. I would just point out that if you look at historical trends
what you would see is that residential property is increasing faster than other kinds of property. So the effect of this amendment, were the body to adopt it, is that there would be less money going to these funds in future years. Again, that's really a question for the body, but that's the effect, is it would decrease the amount of the transfer in future years, because residential, historically, assuming that continues, has gone up more rapidly than other types of property. So if we start including other kinds of property, that'll lower the percentage increase. So just want to point that out for the body, for everybody's information, and leave it to the will of the body on this. Thank you.
Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, and I spoke with the regents, and they are fine with this language. It still holds them harmless. They would still be seeing an increase. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are there other questions on the amendment? Seeing none, Senator, you may move your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move my amendment.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We're back on the bill. Senator from Lynn, are there any questions for Senator from Lynn? Senator Tyson. Senator from Butler, Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for the good senator from Lynn. She'd please stand.
She's standing.
Okay. My question is the $56 million that's in here, exactly how is that money spent? It goes into construction. It goes into a Kansas Educational Building Fund. And there's a description on the front of that. Is there construction money that comes out of that $56 million? And also, is there some debt service that comes out of that? And if so, how much?
Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the question. So the original bill had $50 million, and the committee increased it to $56 million. And that is the current building fund, and it is used for building maintenance with the regents, is what this fund is for.
Senator from Butler, Senator Fagg.
Okay, so I'm reading construction here. The other part says debt service. Do we know how much debt service comes out of that $50 million?
Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that would be up to the regents on that. We do not restrict it with this legislation. They are just, the money goes into the fund, and it's whatever the fund is currently set to. We are not changing any of that.
Senator from Butler, Senator Fagg.
Okay, so if they want to do new construction or debt service, which I think we have to approve on the debt service, just was trying to get a feel of how much of that money's tied into that area. So that was my question. Thank you.
Other questions for the senator from Lynn? Seeing none, Senator, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to stress that we did not change any of the way the money is used, just the funding mechanism. Instead of property taxes, it will now be the state general fund, a transfer from the state general fund. With that, Mr. Chairman, I move that when the committee rises and report, it report SB 35 as amended favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. The chair recognizes the majority leader from Sedgwick, Senator Blasey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Senate Secretary notified me that the motion made on SB 10 that it was not amended. So to clarify the report when we read in the committee report. Clerk will read the committee report.
On motion of Senator Blasey, the Senate resolved itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of bills on the calendar under the heading of General Orders with Senator Billinger in the chair. Recommended Senate Bill 35 be amended by the adoption of the committee report, be it further amended on motion of Senator Starnes and Senator Tyson, and the bill be passed as further amended. Senate Bill 10 be amended by the adoption of the committee report, and the bill be passed as amended.
Chair recognizes the senator from Sherman, Senator Billinger, to adopt the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we adopt the committee report.
For the motion, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Report's adopted. Introduction of bills and concurrent resolutions. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill number 85 by the Committee on Government Efficiency, an act concerning public assistance. Senate Bill number 86 by the Committee on Transportation, an act concerning the Passenger Rail Service Program. Senate Bill number 87 by the Committee on Education, an act concerning education. Senate Bill number 88 by the Committee on Public Health and Welfare, an act concerning the State Long-Term Care Ombudsman. Senate Bill number 89 by the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources, an act concerning agriculture. Senate Bill number 90 by Senator Schmidt, an act concerning property taxation. Senate Bill number 91 by Senator Haley, an act concerning civil actions. Senate Bill number 92 by the Committee on Utilities, an act concerning the State Corporation Commission. Senate Bill number 93 by the Committee on Utilities, an act concerning the State Corporation Commission. Senate Bill number 94 by Senator Haley, an act concerning criminal procedure. Senate Bill number 95 by Senator Haley, an act concerning economic development. And Senate Bill number 96 by Senator Haley, an act concerning the deprivation of rights under color of law. Senate Concurrent Resolution number 1606 by Senator Haley, a concurrent resolution approving the creation of a port authority in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
This constitutes introduction of Senate Bill 85 through 96 and SCR 1606. Reports of standing committees. Clerk will read.
Mr. President, the Committee on Transportation recommends Senate Bill 8 be passed and, because the committee is of the opinion that the bill is of a non-controversial nature, be placed on the consent calendar.
Introduction of original motions and Senate resolutions. Clerk will read.
Senate Resolution number 1706 by Senators Schmidt, Francisco, and others, a resolution condemning the pardons and commutations of sentences for those individuals involved in the violent attack on law enforcement officers at the United States Capitol building on January 6, 2021.
This constitutes introduction of SR 1706. Before adjourning, are there announcements? Senator from Cloud, Senator Bowers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you know tomorrow's Kansas Day? Yes, we do have a few activities happening in the building I'd like you all to know. So first of all, on your desk yesterday, I left a flyer of Grow Kansas Films, and they are sponsoring 2 films tomorrow afternoon, starting at 12, maybe 12:30 after a few other activities. So I'm going to start with the second film first at 3. This was filmed in Senate District 36. It's called Sod and Struble. And it is written in the 1930s, and we'll see this coming to our theaters March 28th. The film brings to life the tale of this pioneer family who tackled the adversities and adventures of living and surviving on the plains during the 19th century. It's filmed in Downs, Wichita, El Dorado. So that is the first movie, second movie at 3, but the first movie is, and these are actually in the Kansas State House Auditorium right in front of the north doors. It's a film about Kansas women, made by Kansas women, and shot entirely in rural Kansas. It is written by, her name is Kiki Bush. and she's Kansas born. She's the executive producer. She co-wrote and stars in The Game Camera. And it's her love letter to the unsung beauty of rural Kansas and its people, featuring a cast of solely Kansas actors and mostly female crew, and was shot in 6 days in rural Saline County and Marion. And then finally, right at straight up noon, we have the Kansas Historical Society co-hosting an event downstairs on the first floor. Maybe you've been watching that near the cage elevator. It's the Kansas Suffrage Memorial Committee to unveil the Rebel Women mural. And the mural features prominent women from the suffrage movement, painted by Phyllis J. Garibay-Kuhn. The dedication program starts right at noon on the first floor rotunda, and everyone is welcome. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Senator from Johnson, Senator Gossage.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Bob Bethel Committee will be meeting on January the 14th. There was, February the 14th. There was some confusion about that, but the agenda, I believe, has been sent out. Thank you.
Senator from Cowley, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Commerce Committee will meet Wednesday, the 29th, and the presentation on the overview of the housing tax credit.
Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tomorrow is a very special day for those of us involved in education. We will be recognizing the Kansas Teacher of the Year candidates. We will be having a joint meeting with the House Education Committee in the old Supreme Court room at 1:30, and then be honoring them on the floor. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any further announcements? Seeing none, Chair recognizes the Majority Leader from Sedgwick, Senator Blasey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the work today from the Senate, kind of getting the groove of things. Tomorrow we'll be on general orders again, so we'll keep practicing. Tomorrow there'll be two items for debate. Senate Concurrent Resolution 1602, which is concerning immigration. We'll debate that tomorrow, as well as Senate Bill 63, subject to passage tomorrow morning out of the Public Health and Welfare Committee, and that's an act concerning Help Not Harm Act. With that, Mr. President, I move the Senate adjourn until 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday, January 29th, 2025.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Oh, would you want to yield to the...
I apologize, Mr. President. I should say we will be caucusing in our normal room after adjournment, and I will yield to the Senator from Douglas.
Senator from Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Democrats will caucus upon adjournment in our regular room, 287 North. I yield back to the Senator from Sedgwick.
The motion to adjourn is on the table. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We're adjourned.